Welcome to Justice Quest.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Well, this is the show where the host is unapologetically calling for the death penalty. It's gotten to that so bad in this country, that's what it is. We've got corruption and graft and everything going on in this country that's unbelievable. But you know what? In spite of all things, we got to go ahead and keep one thing in mind, that Jesus Christ is in control. When Jesus went ahead and said that I have not come to bring peace on earth, but I have come to bring a sword, this is exactly what he meant. He's going to go ahead and separate out the sheep from the wolves. And you better be on the right side. He's done this many times in history. Notably, there was 3 purges of Israel during that 40 years in the desert. I'll let you look them up for themselves. So anyway, welcome to Justice Quest. If you like what you're hearing, go ahead and go to our website, justicequestlive.com. And hit that like and donate button, please. We will go ahead and gratefully take any donations you have. All right, today's scripture is taken from 2 Chronicles, chapter 19. And those that said we have to love everybody, this is not what Christianity is all about. All right, and this proves it. Should you help the wicked and love those who hate the Lord? Therefore, the wrath of the Lord is upon you. Yeah, we're not supposed to love those who hate the Lord. We're not supposed to let them be and pray for them. You want to pray for them to be successful? No, you pray for them to change their heart. And if they don't change their heart, get rid of them. I've gone ahead and been praying for this country for many years, and praying that the Lord, if you don't want to, I'm not going to go ahead and pray for these wicked individuals, but please get rid of them. If they don't change their heart, get rid of them. All right. Today's subject is a little bit different. Everybody's probably heard the speech that Trump gave last week, and I kind of printed it out. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to go ahead and cover some of the highlights. And that's what we're going to be doing this program. He says, good evening. Before we begin, I'm proud to report that our country is safer, stronger, and far wealthier than it ever had been before. We're doing great. Less than 2 years ago, we inherited an economic and social disaster after the worst inflation in 48 years. Yeah, that's true. Under the Biden administration, everything that I bought went up 50%. They were saying that inflation was only like 19 or 20%, but it was closer to 50%. This is what I'm seeing out on the street. 6 years ago, I bought a set of tires for my pickup, and it ran me $800. After 2 years, they needed replacing, so I took it in, and that $800 set of tires was now $1,200. $1,200. So, and change, so it was actually a little bit more than 50%. My favorite brats, in the grocery store went up 50%. Reloading supplies went up 50% all across the board, So this 19-20% inflation that Biden was saying was happening, no, it was more like 50%. My heart goes out to the guy out there that's got 4 kids, and is struggling on $18, $20 an hour, he goes on to say the wide open borders. Well, you know what? I've seen video clips of the Biden administration going down there and bulldozing the wire out of the way and letting the aliens pour in. And it gets back to Deuteronomy 28. The alien among you shall become higher and higher, and you shall become lower and lower. That's exactly what we have going on. We have citizens of this country fighting against ICE who are trying to do their job and enforce immigration law. Yet George Soros or whoever it is at the top says, you know what, go out and protest ICE. And they go, okay. They haven't got two brain cells firing in sequence to go ahead and figure out that they're being used as patsies. The wide open border with millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, including criminals of all types, and 11,888 murders, many of whom killed more than one person. Yeah. And just last week, we covered about weak judges who are letting illegal immigrants go because they're too stupid and didn't realize what they're doing. If that's the case, hang them right here. Here's the solution. You don't go ahead and let them out on the street. That's saying that you don't care about your fellow man, your fellow citizens. No, you don't love your fellow man. I'm here to tell you, if you're one of these judges, you need to go ahead and reorient your thinking and start doing your job. That's what we're paying your salary for, and you're doing all this on the taxpayer dime. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't go ahead and think that I'm angry all the time. No, I'll show you a little bit about the end. You know, when things get too rough, I just got to go back into my prayer closet and say, Lord, it's all up to you. You know. All right, he goes on and says the tax cuts in our great big beautiful bill are saving hardworking families thousands and thousands of dollars, like the provisions: no tax on tips, which is good, no tax on overtime, which is great. I went ahead and the tax on overtime, depending on who's a Republican, it's less, but with a Democrat president, it's more, and some people quit working overtime because it just wasn't worth it. Yeah, I can see that. Along with the interest deduction on a loan used to purchase a car, but only if that car is made in America. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I went ahead and when I found out, last year, that my property taxes and my interest that I paid on loans, and there was something else, were deductible off my federal income tax. I saw the biggest income tax refund in my life. I thought, wow, this is good. So this year, I signed up for that homestead credit that North Dakota offers, and it says that if your primary residence is being taxed, well, yeah, that's being taxed the heaviest. They reduced that down to nothing. But instead of just offering it, we got to apply for it year after year after year. So, and you know what? North Dakota should start sit up and take notice that they had like a 99.999% acceptance of this program. You know what? Maybe your taxes are getting a little bit too much, And here in North Dakota, we have the property tax, we have the income tax, and we have sales tax. My thing is pick one, stick with it, and live within your means. End of story. Now, North Dakota's big question is whether we're going to pay for school lunches. No. Have mom pack you a brown bag, End of story. That's what my mom did. Oh, boy. Now, this is something where I disagree with him. In Trump accounts, every child in America now has access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested. Well, they already did. You can start up a savings account or a Roth IRA anytime you want, And it's billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children. So at age 18, they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life. Yeah, they can do that anytime. Oh boy. $39 trillion in debt. We're going to spend more money. So that's one thing I have against our government, is spending more and more and more money. It's time we start less. As I pointed out, we haven't had a balanced budget, or we haven't had a budget voted on since 1997. During the Trump years, I actually think it was 2011 during the Obama years, but that goes. But anyway, our Congress needs to start doing their job. I went ahead and reviewed the Constitution. We're going to do that in a future program here. And we're going to see everything that Congress has gone ahead and sloughed off to other individuals. So, anyway, our previously wide open borders have been transformed into the most secure borders in the country, in the history of the country, with 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Yeah, we've gone ahead and made great progress on the southern border, but we need to start working on the northern border now, because everybody's starting to turn their attention to our northern border. Now, I got this often. CNN put in their own talking points here, and I'm going to read some of them to you. Now, many of Trump's claims, this is from CNN, have been the subject of CNN reporting. I recently talked to CNN's Priscilla Alvarez about the crackdown on immigration, illegal and otherwise, in the U.S. She told me it's an overstatement to say that 0 people have crossed into the country illegal. Oh, what, 2, 10, 100? Well, that's down from millions a month, or tens of thousands a month. But certainly the number has dropped under Trump. Still waiting. Yeah, okay. Crime is plummeting nationwide. He goes on, with the murder rate at its lowest level since 1900, or more than 125 years ago. We're making a record investment in our armed forces. We have the strongest and most powerful military by far anywhere in the world. I built it during my first term, and unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. Yeah, this is what we have. I also saw a thing on our strategic reserves at the lowest point, thanks to Joe Biden giving all that oil to China. Yeah. Now, as far as crime is plummeting, we need to start hanging repeat offenders. That might go ahead and get some ghosts. Oh, we're supposed to love our fellow man. Yeah, if they can't conform to society's rules, then we have to go ahead and do them. Idaho has started shooting their sexual predators. And I think that started this month, if I'm not mistaken. Now, he goes on to say that America is back and doing really well. But we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. Yeah. No kidding. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action in protecting the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in the system, and that is to make the system secure. Yeah. Let me go ahead and back up here a number of years. And I will go ahead and say that when the 2020 elections happened, I had a neighbor come to me and ask me if I thought the election had been stolen. I said, well, I hope not, all right, because I cannot, but God's word is very clear. Do not circulate a false report. I had no proof. However, now having said that, I said to him, I says, I think there are enough anomalies that it needs to be investigated and looked into, all right? Department of Justice went ahead and looked into them, and it was slow walked by Joe Biden and finally dropped. And that seems to be their modus operandi, the way that they work. They go ahead and call for an investigation. Oh, this is intolerable. We need to investigate it, blah, blah, blah. And they go ahead and they spend millions upon millions of dollars investigating it. And they come out half the time and they say, oh, nothing happened here. All right. Just like Bill Clinton with selling our nuclear missile technology. I saw that happen. I was watching that very carefully. All right. The aftermath of that is they said that China most likely stole the secrets. Most likely. They didn't know? No. And I was going ahead and haranguing my chain of command saying, we need to send a letter to the FBI. We need to send a letter to the Department of Justice. Do something. If I did the same thing, what would happen to me? Oh, you'd go to jail. No kidding. If I go to jail, the president ought to go to jail. He was the first worthless Democrat that we ever went ahead. His entire presidency was nothing but smoke and mirrors. What is left of it? All it was a lawyer feeding frenzy that they could go ahead and charge the government challenging his unconstitutional things. And Obama did the same thing, but not quite as bad. All right. The evidence he goes on to say that the evidence shows that the election system that we have dangerously exposes and really exposes high levels, like levels never thought possible, to hacking, exploitation, foreign interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people, our beautiful, great American people. Yeah, you know what? After Obama got elected a second term, Bill Clinton got elected a second term, after everything, and they didn't really do a great job at all, but they were diehard Democrats. Oh, yeah, and I've run across them. Oh, yeah, my daddy and my granddaddy were being a Democrat, and by God, I'll be a Democrat till the day I die. Yeah, and I will vote Democrat. Yeah, so no matter how good or how bad they are, and I didn't like, when McCain was running against Obama, I didn't vote that election because I didn't like either one of them. McCain and Obama were a traitor. I said it, traitor, T. I used the T word. This evidence now he's turning all this over to the Department of Justice and the FBI to go ahead and start an inquiry into it. So I'm not circulating a false report. I'm just saying that this is what the president is doing. And this is what I wanted to be done in the first place. I wanted the election to be gone ahead and investigated. Find out if there's been any wrongdoing at all. It goes on to say, now CNN goes ahead and points in this talking point, vulnerabilities, quote, are different than evidence of interference. Well, you know what? I saw a clip this weekend of a guy who had a Dominion voting machine on there, and they were the primary voting machines used. They were developed out of Venezuela, which Maduro used in his election to go ahead and win election. Now, this is one of the things that I said, that during the election, 11 o'clock, Trump was winning in all states, and then all of a sudden it flipped. Okay, why did it flip? All of us voted for Trump, went to Biden, and vice versa, so Trump lost. I said, that would have been something we needed a electronic forensic expert to go through those voting machines and see how direct they are. Now it's coming out that, yeah, all it takes is one keystroke and they can change it. These were all hooked up to the internet. That makes them vulnerable. time after time after time again, we go ahead and we have people being hacked into or broken into computer-wise, and it's still going on today. But yet it's still not, it's like ho-hum, you know. What kind of information being credit card numbers, you know, shopping habits, yeah. All right. He goes on and says, this evidence shows that election system we have dangerously exposes and really exposes like levels never thought possible to hacking, exploitation, and foreign interference. Just as disturbing, this vital information has for many years been covered up and hidden from you, the American people. Yeah. Paper ballots and show up to vote. I've got an acquaintance of mine that he is healthy. He's my age. He graduated with me. There's no reason he can't get his butt to the polling place to cast a ballot on election day, but he went ahead and he voted absentee because he could. Paper ballots, show up. No more electronic voting machines. And count them. But all that change, Trump goes on, but all that changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's intelligence. Good job, Mr. President. This is what I elected you for, but you're not going far enough. I want to go ahead and see some congressmen, traitors, going ahead and hung, the ones that got their hands dipping into our Social Security, the ones that are going ahead and got their hands in the USAID, the ones that have got their hands are stealing from the federal treasury. I want you to go ahead and hang a few people. And if you don't do it, I will happily volunteer to do it for you. You go ahead and you give me the tax and the trial transcripts. I'll review them and see if they need hanging, and I will do it. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov. That's whitehouse.gov. Go check it out. Our purpose in disclosing this information, not to weaken confidence in elections, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. That's what we're doing. Yes, good job. That's what you are supposed to do. And every president that hasn't done it, from Bill Clinton on, dare I say, George H.W. on, but he's dead. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting in the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of U.S. election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. Why do they need information on U.S. voters if they're not going to use it to influence our elections? And that speaks of another oh boy. I saw a clip this weekend of Hillary Clinton, of all people. She went ahead and plagiarized herself so much and told outright lies, it's not even funny. She was on some talk show, and Hillary Clinton wants to bring China on board to the DNC, all right, to go ahead and help out with elections here in the United States. Her reasoning behind doing this is that if Donald Trump could do it with Russia, we should be able to do it with China. Well, Trump never did it with Russia. That was a dossier that you bought and paid for to go ahead and smear Donald Trump from getting elected in 2016. Wow. Now, she wants to include China in the DNC. That's treason. They got nothing being done about her. Now, CNN's Izzy Lipolis writes, a foreign adversary can learn a lot about Americans from accessing U.S. voter rolls, and it creates a real possibility of chaos on Election Day. Now, that's from CNN. And they're apparently, they're going to be downplaying that. So I would say the danger is a lot more real than they're letting on. Oh, people. If we don't go ahead and start hanging our traitors, all right, this is just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. Just take a look at New York City. Mamdani went ahead this weekend and was throwing a soccer party at the New York prison for inmates. I found that unbelievable. I found that unbelievable. Let's see. They did not disclose to me as president or to anybody else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform. All right, let's back up. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, tens of millions of voter data in 18 states have been bought, stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. Yeah, you know what? This is critical to the security of our country. You know what? You need to take them out and have them shot. Or, you know, put them in prison for the rest of their life with no hourly checks, you know, so they can go ahead and hang themselves and save the taxpayers a lot of dollars. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is this is the most secure election in the history of our country. Well, I knew better than that. A standard, very pat line that was divided out to say, you know, after the election, I had a neighbor of mine who was quite young, actually, and, you know, I kind of surprised to hear this question. You come to me and ask me if the election was stolen. And I said, well, I certainly hope not, because I wasn't going to circulate a false report. All right. So I told him, I said, but having said that, I think that there is a lot that needs to be looked at and investigated. Of course, nothing was done, you know, nothing was done. Paper ballots show up. Paper ballots are hard type. You seal them and you put them in a secure vault somewhere. So if they need to be reviewed in the future, they can. You know, the voting machines, hit a delete button and then they're gone. You know, and it's funny. Somebody showed me a map of the states that Kamala Harris won. It was in all the states where voter ID was not required. You know, and when they started coming up with this, well, we need to see if you're a U.S. citizen in order to get a driver's license. We need a birth certificate, anything that proves that you're, you know, source documents is what I call them, that they go ahead and that you are a citizen of this country in order to get a driver's license. Well, why should we bother when California is just giving them out? Any other liberal states is handing out driver's license, whether or not they can speak English or not. We have had that happening here in North Dakota. All right. They bring in interpreters into the driver's license bureau, have them read it, and then they go ahead and they give them the answers. All right, so why bother? You know. In fact, I went ahead and I said, "Why are we doing this?" I said, "Just close the border, and we wouldn't have to do this." And the driver's license bureau lady told me, "said Look, honey, we agree with you." You know. This cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing up that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my first administration and our 2020 campaign. They did not want it, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump to win. And for a good reason. As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president votes and make him resign or prevent his reelection. Why? I'll give you one simple word: tariffs. During the first Trump administration, China was being hit hard, and I was glad to see it. We have paid for China's military and for their infrastructure through tariffs. Okay, I'm just seeing something come to my mind. I wanted to see if I made a note of it, and I did. All right, and I'll cover that in a few minutes. They just wanted to make you sound like your president wasn't so hot, when actually your president had done a great job, and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, the strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. There you have it. All right. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him, as many as they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted the U.S. president to lose the next election. The Chinese government, why? Tariffs. He was hitting them in their pocketbook and hitting them hard. You know, my biggest fear is our next president. Is he going to continue on doing what Trump started, or is he just going to belly up and knuckle under to the liberals just like George H.W. Bush did? Yeah, we did that. He won the first Gulf War, and he knuckled under to raising taxes when George himself said, "Read my lips, no new taxes." All right. Congress persuaded him to do it, and then they said, it's the president's fault. Yeah. Don't ever make a deal with Democrats. They're liars, cheaters. They're out here to kill, steal, and destroy, just like Satan. And I will tell you that unabashedly. That was going on back then. How dare they? That was a dirty, rotten trick. All right. And I would have, if I was George Bush, I would have said, yeah, where's my wall? You promised Reagan if we offered amnesty, you'd build a wall. Yeah, where is it? And CNN reports what they said. This is true. According to the intelligence community assessment, China did prefer a Trump loss in 2020. So did Russia and Iran, two other countries that were also identified as trying to influence in the election. Yeah, CNN, you're all over the board on this one. And the reason they wanted me to lose is they knew I was wise to them. Charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs and built the strongest military anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military anywhere in the world. These are exact quotes from the CIA reporting. The name of the person doing the quote is now under review, but it gets even worse. Yeah, we paid for their military and we paid for their infrastructure. Okay. Yeah, Ross Perot, when NAFTA was passed by Bill Clinton and further enhanced by George W. Bush, Ross Perot said, we're going to have a giant sucking sound going south. Yeah. And companies immediately moved down to Mexico and South America, where they could pay a dollar an hour wages and didn't have to pay tariffs coming back into the country. You know, that is stupid thinking. If you're going to put Americans out of work, they won't have, and you're going to continue to go ahead and have them paid less and less and less, they're not going to be able to afford your products. You know, that was stupid. I went in, I'll go ahead and say to the company that stayed in America, good job, you were smart. So Ross Perot, after 20-some years, has been proven right. We go on and on and on. And I mean, another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it that way from the honorable press. And I don't think the press is so honorable, but you got a lot of the press. You know what? Everybody, the CIA, the FBI, the press, Congress has got to go ahead and start working for the American people again, telling them exactly what's going on. You know, when Randy Weaver family was decimated on Ruby Ridge, you know, in Idaho back in whenever it was, you know, and then they went ahead and brought him to trial, and he was exonerated on all charges except for failure to appear. Yeah, even though he was given the wrong date. I guess after all that mess, they had to find him guilty of something. He went ahead and served like undetermined. I don't forget what the thing was, but I've recently heard, and I would say recently within the last 10 years, that there was something classified about that whole case. And that was brought up to me by somebody that I trust. And I said, well, what was it? And he said, well, it's classified. I can't tell you. I went, this is a domestic case. This is not a military secret. He goes, well, I still can't tell you. I went, well, so be it. Then I'm going to stand by my case. You know, I don't care if there was something, you know, I got to go ahead and judge on what I see, not what I don't see or what I don't know. I got more brain cells firing in sequence here than most liberals got put together. All right. He goes on to say, recently we found a significant numbers of bird bags information. In this group, this is a group of bags that were used to destroy information given by President Barack Hussein Obama to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened. Maybe we got lucky. I want to know what's in the bags. Every department has information no longer need paperwork they need to get rid of, so they burn it. We've got 2 burn companies running around North Dakota here. And so I'm still up in the air about that one. I want to know what's in there. That may be God saying that, okay, here's evidence. It could go either way. All right. Today I'm asking the office of he goes on saying, today I'm asking the Office of Director of National Intelligence, Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people. This is what I elected you for. I elected you at first in 2016 because you said you were going to drain the swamp, and you indicated that Hillary Clinton was going to go to jail. I'm still waiting to see that. We've got a long list of traitors behind us that have nothing's been done, including Bill Clinton's little smirk when he was saying, I've never had sex with that woman. You know, I can just see it, and I'm wondering, why is he smirking when he's saying that? And the Holy Spirit showed it to me, I think, and says that, yeah, after all I've done, this is what you're investigating me for or impeaching me for? This is, yeah. Although I understand why. I mean, Al Gore, dumber than a box full of rocks, would have become president, Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we released proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about that. Go to whitehouse.gov and check this out for yourself, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems. Dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Today, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has not long known these machines, Dominion voting machines, are extremely exposed to attack. Yeah, no kidding. I know that. When you get electronics and computers involved in anything, you're open to attack, period. There is no firewall that can be contained that for anything, unless it's a closed loop system and you are just internal and it's not connected to the internet. If it's connected to the internet, it's vulnerable. People, even I know this. And for those of you naysayers saying, oh, our government knows what they're doing. Yeah, they know what they're doing, and they found it, but they're not releasing the information. They're covering it up. This is not what an open society is supposed to do. CNN reports Trump is likely overstating things here. Yeah. And they go ahead and contradict themselves. The U.S. election system is completely decentralized. Each state runs its own elections in its own way with different systems, which is not to say that maintaining election security should not be a priority. Yeah, they've contradicted themselves. Wow. Go ahead. You got a few more paragraphs. He went on and on. The fourth set of documents reveal that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures here tonight, here are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. Wow. You know what? I just got done reading a book, The Two FBIs, and I'm forgetting who the author was. Excuse me. But she said that there's good people and there's bad people in the FBI. There's good people in there that want to do a good job and bring justice to the American people. That's the type of people we need in power. All right. She herself went ahead and put two reports up to the head of the FBI, and they were gone ahead and dismissed. All right. So anyway, having said that, CNN reports what action exactly Trump doesn't say, so stay tuned. Yeah. All right. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon, Michigan, I guess. And they were so concerned about what they found, they were just so concerned they couldn't believe it. Actually, that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names and submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist and received gift cards tied to the number of applications that they produced. Wow. In other words, it was pay, play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and killed it. Tonight, I'm asking the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Good job, Mr. President. Good job. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, and identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. 278,000. What the hell was all this collecting Social Security numbers and birth certificates to get a driver's license for then? No, it was for enumeration of the American citizen. End of story. I connect things, disparate things. I play chess. It's one of my favorite things to do. I go ahead and I watch what's going on, see how the pieces are being moved into place, and I see the one world government taking over. And hopefully Trump is going to stop that. Get them all out of our country. All of them. If they're Muslim, get them out. And yet we still, and he goes on, says, yet we still have election with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship. And that's the only way Kamala Harris won. And tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago. But it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th. Think of that, much more than 1 month. You know what, with these... It should take no more than 12 hours to go ahead and count all the ballots. The ballot counters should be working behind the scenes. Took a month to count the votes. I wonder what they were doing. This is worse than any third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. I'll have to find out. Did Karen Bass get reelected? Yeah. He goes on to say, our elections were left vulnerable to being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people was lost. This cannot be allowed to continue. Yeah, the trust of the American people is lost, both in our electoral college in Congress and the presidents and the press and the CIA, the FBI, every department going on there. All they do is hand out more and more and more, you know. I worked clearing the snow at our local Air Force base here one time and walked into a men's room and they had music playing in the latrine. You got to be kidding me. He goes on to say, this should not, secure elections should be partisan, really we should be together, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody. It should not be a partisan issue. It should cause to unite us, not to divide us. This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. The left wants to destroy this country, Mr. President. Satan wants to destroy this country. The left follows Satan. End of story. They're trying to drive Christians out and make us irrelevant. We go ahead and I don't know how else to put this. When Jesus Christ and he said that, you think I've come to come together and bring it together in peace? No, I've come to go ahead and divide you with a sword. This is exactly what's happening. This is exactly what's happening in this country. I'm saving the last page for last, okay? Because I've got a thing here that I go ahead and listen to on YouTube quite often, and it's rather funny. But we have got to. We were united in this country. Yeah, every time we went to war, we had about 40 protesters get together in front of the White House and protest the war. Now it's in the tens of thousands. You know. All over. And I mean, during the Gulf War, you know, there were signs being held up, no blood for cheap oil, you know, and I'm thinking like at that time, gas was $4 a gallon. And I'm thinking like, where's this cheap oil we're supposedly going to war for? Yeah. And every time we get a flare up in the Middle East, the price of oil shoots up. How can the price of oil shoot up? Yeah, I know how the markets work. You know, I used to play the commodity markets all the time. But we ought to go ahead and get rid of oil off the commodity markets. We're pumping enough to use our own domestically. and then some. Build back up our federal our reserves that Biden went ahead and gave to China. I remember that. He's a traitor for doing that. We need to go ahead and get together as one country. I called my congressman or senator years ago, and when this issue was coming up, I said, we need to go ahead and pass a law saying voter ID all across the United States. End of story. He goes, well, we don't want to federalize national elections. Why not? The states are allowing people to go ahead and cheat. Yet we have two of them. How can I say this politely? Our two senators leave much to be desired. In other words, they're worthless as tits on a boar hog. Oh, did I say that out loud? Yeah, of course I did. We're not afraid of them here. I'm tired of being polite. I'm tired of being reasonable. It's time we go ahead and we go ahead and get the laws of this country need to be obeyed. We have them on the books. We just need to enforce them. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say, people, I'm not like this at all the time. You know, it's just on this show that I get all, I love God, you know, and I love Jesus, and I follow what they have to say to the letter. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, he finds me, he welcomes me into heaven and says, well done, my good and faithful servant, you know. And I don't know, but I found a couple of passages this morning before the show. Isaiah 13:11, that God says, I will punish the world for its evil and the wicked for their iniquity. I will halt the arrogance of the proud and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. In Isaiah 14:9 through 11, heaven from beneath is excited about you to meet you as you're coming. It stirs up the dead for you, all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. They shall all speak and say to you, have you also become as weak as we? Have you become like us? Your pomp is brought down to Sheol, and the sound of your stringed instruments. A maggot is spread over you, and worms cover you. Yeah, that's what hell is. Where thirst is not quenched, and a worm does not die. Yeah. Hell is a total absence of God. End of story. That clean air you're breathing right now is a blessing from God. You can draw, you know, because there's going to be smoke and fire. It's going to be smell like sulfur and sewer, and it's going to be toxic. You will not be able to draw a clean breath. Remember the rich man that died along with Lazarus, all right, who begged God to send Lazarus over the canyon to just just go ahead and dip his finger in the water to go ahead and cool the thirst. But yeah, it wasn't God. God wasn't going to have it, said it's impossible. For those of you who do not think that God will require an accounting, oh yes, he will. Oh yes, he will. Now for the fun thing I told you about, you know, and I go to this one quite often because I love it so much. It's a short video on YouTube. It's called Cows with Guns. Cows with Guns. Yeah, and it's terrible, but it's funny. You know, so it's been on there about 20. I discovered it about 25 years ago. And every time I start thinking I get overwhelmed, I go to that video and I just get a laugh. So Yeah, I keep my life in balance. About the only time I go ahead and get really upset is when I'm talking to other people about politics. Why? Because it's so critical nowadays. The end of the world is coming, people, and we, as a nation, we can either partake of it and be judged along with the rest of the world or not. End of story. And if you don't think what's coming, read Revelation. Oh, well, that's pretty much about all I have for today, And yet Bill and Hillary Clinton are still walking free, All the intelligence agencies who went in and participated in cover-ups are still walking free. They've gone ahead and the ones that are empowering the New World Order to go ahead and put up these flock cameras are still walking free. They're getting us to go ahead and use our tax dollars to spy on ourselves. It's about time we start demanding where our tax dollars are going. And with that, go ahead and go to justicequestlive.com and click on that donate now button and like and follow. And we will see you in 2 days on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is Tom O'Neill, and I'll say bye-bye. Go and be with God.